easy anymore.
I know.
But they are all around, and they are trying to talk to us.
I felt one at one point recently. I work in this house that may or may not be haunted, but it's got a great history. Great history.
So let's talk about your experiences with the paranormal. You had said that you recently had an experience, is that right?
Yeah, a brief one.
Okay.
A brief one.
Let's talk about your brief experience.
I was in a bathroom in this house, and I was at the toilet. I think I was cleaning the bowl of the toilet, and I flushed it or something. So there was a clawfoot tub behind me,
Mm-hmm.
and the clawfoot tub is about yay high. I was slightly bent over, and the house has always spooked me out. I mean, it's definitely it's got an eerie energy. When there's not a lot of people, when it's filled with people, it's fine. It's just like a nice old cottage. But when you're alone in the house, it's just it creaks. It's old.
Mm-hmm.
It's got history.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's as simple as this. I was down near the toilet. I was not on my knees, but I was a little crouched,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to stand up, and there was a very it wasn't like a firm grip, but it was like this kind of shape of someone's hand,
Mm-hmm.
like right on my hip.
Mm-hmm.
And my first thought was like, oh, I bumped into the bathtub. But the bathtub was still far enough away that I wouldn't have bumped. And even if I did bump into the bathtub, it would have hit me down here,
Right.
not here.
Right.
And there was a shower curtain, but it's a curtain. It's not like a shower glass. So it was a very, it was one of those feelings where it just sends whatever sensation you want to call it up and down your body. Like you just know.
You know what it is.
It's something there. And it wasn't malevolent or, it was not benign either necessarily, but it was just a neutral sort of presence, but it was a presence, and it was just right there at my hip. And that was it. I mean, it just a bump. It was almost like bumping into someone at a subway stop or something.
Maybe they didn't want you to fall over, and they were holding you up.
So in that case, yeah, it would be a sort of an ally rather than a...
I'm a firm believer that really there aren't malevolent spirits. I believe that they're ghosts with attitude. And so they touch your hair and pull your shirt and, give you a little shove just to say, I'm here, look at me, see me.
You said with the club.
Yeah.
That might be a little bit more.
But, I've never come across anything where anybody with me has ever been hurt or injured or anything bad happened or anything like that. So I don't not believe people when they say those things because I wasn't there and it's not up to me to judge, but I've never, and I've been doing this a long time, never had that type of thing happen. So, to me it's more somebody's trying to help you, you don't want you to fall backwards or just saying, here I am, look at me,
Yeah.
and telling you that. Have you had any other experiences that...
Not in that house, but I've always been, I guess I have an active imagination and I do watch a lot of horror. I love ghost movies when they're done well. And I love the feeling of being sort of almost scared, scared out of my mind. Have you seen the Korean movie called Kairo? Kairo. It was remade into something called Pulse. It's a movie called Pulse.
I'll have to find it now.
and these spirits are a little on the not evil side, but they're a little angry, and the premise of the movie is it sounds so dumb that you're just like, I'm not going to see that. But basically the spirit world is overflowing and spirits start to kind of come through our technology. So this is done about 10 or 12 years ago, so it was before cell phones. Everyone had one, but they start coming through cell phones and computers.
Nice.
That's their sort of the conduit, I guess you would call it.
It's just, there's just so much to it, and you have all of this theory and you have all of this practicality that you've got to combine to try to make the movie good, and that's where the people that do the creative part of it, you being a producer know that you have to put input the creative parts in it with the theory and the practicality to make it a good movie, and then you've got to get the right people for the right parts and stuff like that. And
yeah, and I understand. I get it. Now that I've done a little bit of producing, I understand how things get to that point where you're like, oh gosh, well, this is the best I can do, and let's just get it done and get it out there. Because like it's such a war making movies. I'm sure you know, like with any sort of creative endeavor where you're kind of out on your own trying to make it happen. Like the odds are against you. So I it's not like I watch a bad movie and think, oh, what would they think? Like, what idiot? You know, it's more like I understand how hard it is. Like, I can go watch the Shining or the Conjuring, which I thought was a great movie, in the theater, and just in awe. And you're like, oh, it's so simple just to make a straightforward. Like, it didn't have to cost millions of dollars. I mean, it did cost money, but like, it didn't have to. It's not that difficult. It's just these base fears that we all have. You don't have to like throw a bunch of sex in there.
And
Not
then,
that
you
I'm
know.
against sex, but
I won't go there. But it's just, and we'll take The Conjuring for a moment. You know, just the idea of the girls in the bedroom, and there's somebody behind the door, and one sees it and one doesn't, and that happens a lot. You know, you can put X amount of ghost hunters in a room, and something's going on, and say one recorder will pick it up and one won't, and they're both in the same room. Say, that's happened to me before. Same thing with video cameras. One will capture something, one won't. They're both in the same room. Somebody will hear something, somebody won't. Somebody will see something, somebody won't. All in the same place.
that's because we all have delicate feeds of.
You know, I've tried to
energy.
come up with really good theories for a long, long time, and I still can't come up with something that's really sound. I can just say, this is what I know, this is what's happened to me, this is where I've been, you know, this type of thing. But there is no cut and dry when it comes to
Well, there is
paranormal.
something to do to like susceptibility, right? Like, don't they? You know, like with The Exorcist, the young girl was sort of maybe an easy target. They say kids are more open to seeing things because they're not as filtered as
That's
they don't
right.
have as many filters as we adults do, maybe.
That's right.
So, but even though someone might be an adult, maybe their filters are more free or open, or they've experienced something at a certain point in their life that gives them an extra sensory